Hi guys, welcome back to another video on Next.js 14 app directory. So in this video, I will be talking about theming, light mode, dark mode in Next.js 14. So I'll be using one of the most popular Tailwind CSS library called Shadcn UI, and it is very popular, and it is not a typical UI library that gives you the components only. In fact, it creates the component of React in your code, in your folder structure, which you can see that how things are working, and which you can modify as well and override the design of all of these components which provides by Shadcn UI. So I will be creating a new Next.js 14 project from scratch, and this is not a video on theming only, and you can follow this tutorial to know about the Shadcn UI as well if you want to use Shadcn UI components for further UI designing, building the layout of your website. Okay, so main focus is the theming. So let's get started. I've opened up an empty folder in VS Code, and I'll be creating a new Next.js 14 project. And first of all, let me verify I have the node version 20 in my system. So I'll be using the npx create next app at latest dot. I don't want to create a new folder. In fact, I want to create all of the Next.js 14 files directly in this empty folder. So I'll hit enter. So it's going to create and download all the dependencies of Next.js 14 project. So I'm going to go with the TypeScript, ESLint, yes, Tailwind CSS, yes. I don't want to create the source folder in this project. Let's go with the app router. No. All right, so it is going to create Next.js 14 project. If I open up the package.json file, you will see that it is creating the Next.js 14.0.1. All right, so once it is getting installed, we are gonna go into the documentation. We can go to the installation. We can click on the next.js, and this is what we have already done. We have created a new Next.js project by enabling the TypeScript, Tailwind CSS, and the ESLint enabled. All right, next what we need to do, we need to initialize our Shadcn UI by running this command. So I'm gonna copy this command using an npm. You can copy with the yarn, bun, or pnp, and it's getting installed currently. Meanwhile, if I show you my playlist on Next.js 14 tutorials app directory, you will find the videos on pretty much every topic that you would need to become a good Next.js developer using an app directory. It includes project-based videos, complete authorization authentication system, including the forget reset password feature as well, using NextAuth, and using the clerk authentication system, how to protect routes, type scripting, building weather apps, building e-commerce app, building blog applications, Redux, context APIs, the stand, SEO, and I can actually show you the complete Next.js 13 tutorial playlist, and you will find everything from basics to advanced, including the best practices, including the connection with MongoDB. So you can explore this playlist if you want to learn pretty much everything about the Next.js 13 or Next.js 14. Other than this, follow my channel on WhatsApp. I've given the link of it in the description of this video, and also follow me on the LinkedIn as well for getting updates from my professional account. So project is created. First of all, I'm going to open up the app directory, go to the page.tsx, and I don't need any of these internal divs within the main element. Okay, so for now, let's add home inside it. All right, and I'm gonna open up the layout.tsx, and I don't need the default fonts here, so I'm just going to remove all the configurations related to the fonts, and I'm also going to remove this class name as well. Okay, so now I'm going to run the project npm run dev in my terminal, and I'm gonna go into the browser, and let's refresh this, and it should show this home text at the center of the page. All right, so this is how it's looking. And now I'm going to open up this Next.js Shadcn UI page, which I've already opened. So this is what I'm going to be implementing. You can see that the same kind of theming is already implemented in their own website. Like on the top, I can click on the light mode, you can see, and I can click on the system. So whatever the theming is set in my operating system, it will fetch that particular value from there. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to copy this npm command npx for the Shadcn. Let the project running. I'm going to open up another terminal for that particular stuff. So I'm going to paste it over here, hit enter. So it's going to ask me few questions. First of all, we are using TypeScript. Yes, we will go with the default. We are going to go with the default base color. We are having the global.css, so we need to verify the paths of these files. So our global.css file exists in the app slash global.css file. Yes, I'm going to hit enter. If you are using the source directory in Next.js, you might want to write the src slash app slash global.css. Okay, but for now I'm going to hit enter, and let's go with the yes for now. So we have the tailwind.config.js located at the tailwind dot, but you can see that the location is correct. But we are using the tailwind.config.ts file, not the JS file. So I'm going to write the tailwind.config.ts over here. So I'll hit enter, and it's asking me that where I will be creating my components folder. It will be in the home directory for this project. So I'll hit enter, and I'll go with the same library and the utils folder. I'll hit enter, and yes, I'll be using the server components, and I will be creating the components.js file as well. So let's go with the Y. So it's going to initialize the project based upon the configuration I've set using the Shadcn UI. Okay, let's stop the project for now. So it has actually initialized it. You can see that it has created this component folder. It has created the lib utils.ts file, and it has created components.js, and you can see that I provided the tailwind.config.ts file, and it has modified the global.css file based upon the Shadcn UI. It has removed everything that was earlier written over here, and this is the root, which is basically the light mode, and then it has created the colors for the dark mode automatically, and which we can modify as well based upon our needs. But by default we can go with the default settings it has set. If I go to the tailwind.config.ts file, you can see that it has modified this file as well by adding the different configurations, theming settings. One thing more, we might be using the JS files as well. If yes, we will be adding .js over here, .jsx, .mdx, whatever the files that you would need, you can add over here. All right, so I'll just be copy pasting it over here as well. All right, so let's save it. Let's go. Let's try to run the project to verify if everything is working fine. And this is where we are going to start designing our project and implement theming using Shadcn. So let's go over here, let's refresh, and I think it's already working fine, and it's using the light theme by default because it's using this root over here. All right, so now it's time to go further, and we are going to add some components. So I'm gonna go to the documentation. Let's go down. We will not be using the fonts for this purpose, for the theming. So let me show you how we can add different components. On the left side, you can see that there are a lot of these components. So it's giving an example that if you want to use the button, I can copy this command with the npm and run it in my terminal. So let's paste it over here, hit enter, and it's going to create the UI folder within the component, and it's going to add the component button.tsx. And this is why it is very famous library, because it gives you the code which you can modify and you can analyze that how it is working from here. All right, and it is using the variants as well, and this is why it will automatically be handled through theming. Okay, so we don't need to modify it for now. So we have used this button, and which we can use it over here. So I'm going to use this button from here. So let's add the button from the components UI button. So let's save it. Let's go. And you can see that we have to add some content inside it. So I'm going to be adding the content. So let's say the button and this button. Let's save it. And now you can see that the hover effect, the content over here is already set. The margin padding is already set. All right. So this is how we can create different component. But first of all, I need to set up the layout, the header, which will be having the drop down like this. Which will show the light, dark, and the system. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to this dark mode option from the documentation. I'm gonna go to the Next.js and I'm going to install this next themes. Okay, so let's add it in the terminal. So it has been added, and after this I need to create a theme provider, and theme provider will be wrapping all the applications. So first of all, I will be creating a new file within the components folder. So I'm going to name it theme provider.tsx. Okay, so this is going to be a client component. So because it's using the use client, so I'm going to copy the code from here and I'm going to paste it over here. All right, so after this it is asking to wrap everything within this theme provider in your layout file. So I'm going to open up the layout.tsx, and here I will be wrapping everything. But first of all, let me add some kind of design for it. So I will be adding a div. So inside this div, first of all, I'm going to cut the children and paste it inside this div, and I'm going to wrap everything in this theme provider which I have created from the components. All right, so let's cut this, let's paste it over here. So this have been wrapped. Now I need to create a navbar will be showing at the top of this UI, and that will contain the logo as well as that drop down for the theming. So I'm going to create a new file within the components folder, and I'm going to name it navbar.tsx. Okay, so I will be copy pasting few stuff inside it. This is simple, the simple component. So first of all, I will be using the RAFCE. So this has been created, and I will be adding different UI elements over here. So let's add the div, and inside this div I will be adding the UL element, and inside it let's add the div, and here we can have the link from the next link, href equals to this one, and inside this we can have li and then the home. Okay, so just like this I can, let me remove it and fix it. Let's add another div, and before adding any component for the toggling stuff, I'm gonna open up this UL actually, and I'm going to style it a bit. So I will be adding the flex, justify between, and margin to the y-axis to 10, and item center. Okay, and we can have a class name over here as well. So I will be adding the flex gap 10. Okay, so this has been added. Let's open up the layout file as well, and I will be adding few design over here as well. So I will be going in this div. So let's add the class name mx auto max w 5 xl text 2 xl gap 2 and margin bottom 10. So this has been added. If I go to the documentation, you will see that theme provider also suggesting to add these attributes. So I'm going to copy all of these and I'm going to paste it over here. So these 4 attributes are required. Okay, and we have created this navbar, and we need to show the navbar above these children. So I'm gonna come over here. So I will be adding the navbar which I have added. So let's add over here. All right, so I'm gonna go, and you can see that it's showing the home, and it on the right side I need to show the that drop down for the theming. Okay, so let's go over here, and here you can see that it's showing this drop down which we need to use, and this is the code it is actually providing to us. Okay, and I need to create a file, and inside that file I will be copy pasting this code. So let's copy this code, and I'm going to create a new component. So within the components I'm going to create dark mod toggle dot tsx. Hit enter, and I'm going to paste everything over here, and it requires the drop down menu component which is given by this Shadcn as well. So I'm gonna go over here, and we have to have the drop down menu. And this is how we can install it. Just copy paste the command from here, add it over here, and hit enter. So it's going to install the drop down component automatically within the UI folder within the components, and this is what it has automatically created. We don't need to do anything. All right, so let's close it, and in the dark mode toggle you can see that the error is gone. Okay, we don't need to modify it. You can also change the text from here if you want, but I don't want to do that for now. So let's save it, and I'm gonna go to the navbar.tsx, and here I will be using that dark mode component which I have just created. So it's not picking that up. Let's try to see. So this is the dark, it is actually the mod toggle over here. Okay, so I'm going to write the mod toggle. All right, so this has been added. Now let's go over here, and you can see that it has automatically picking up the system UI, the system theme which I have set, and I can click on the light. You can see that it's looking so cool, and it has automatically started working as expected, and everything including if you are using the Shadcn component, the component will behave according to the theming. But if you are using your custom UI or another library for the UI, still you can modify the colors of these. I'm just going to show you how you can do that. So I'm going to open up this page, and I'm going to remove this button. I don't need that. All right, and to make it look nicer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the table, this one, the data table. Okay, and the data table is looking like this. This is an awesome component, so in order to install that I need to run this command. So I'm just going to write npm, hit enter. So it's going to add a new component within this UI folder. Okay, so it has added over here. It will be adding right here, and if I go to the documentation, we have these prerequisites. These are the prerequisites. This is what we need to install. So I'm going to install this prerequisite as well. Now I'll be creating a new file over here, and I'm going to name it table component.tsx. Okay, and inside it, if I go up, this is the code which I will be pasting over there. So let's copy this code and paste it over here. All right, it's going to give us few errors. These are the components it require: checkbox, input, and the table is something which we have already installed. You can see over here the table.tsx. Okay, so we can get the commands for it. Let's go and get the checkbox one. This is the checkbox. Let's copy this checkbox element, and I'm going to hit enter. It's going to install. Next one is the input. So let's go down. Where is the input? This is the input component. Let's copy this one as well and paste it over here, and it's going to add the components for these checkboxes, the inputs. You can see you don't need to write all these yourself. Now let's close down, and if we go to the table component, you will see that it is not showing any kind of error. All right, and obviously we can modify that. This is the benefit of Shadcn. I'm going to open up this page, and this is where I will be using that one. So what's the name of that? Let's go and check this out. So we have the table component, and we will be naming it data table. Okay, this is the data table demo which we need to import. So I will be writing the data table. This is where it's coming from. Okay, so let's save it. It should show the table in our UI. All right, guys, so you can see that it's showing an awesome UI for that table, and all these sorting options and these drop downs are already showing over here. And if I go to the light mode, you can see that it is automatically handling this light mode over here. All right, so this is looking pretty cool. Let's remove padding 24 so it covers the whole view. All right, and we can switch to the dark mode or the system settings, which is the dark on my system. All right, so how cool is that with few steps we can implement the theming using Shadcn UI. All right, so that's pretty much it for this video. If you want to learn more stuff in Next.js 14, I've already created a lot of videos on project-based tutorials in Next.js 14, Next.js 13 using an app directory. Check out my channel and check out the links I've given in the description of this video, and it will really appreciate me to create more videos if you subscribe my channel and like this video. I will be creating a new video on theming using the Daisy UI, and I will be creating few more project based videos in upcoming days in Next.js 14 app directory. Thank you so much for watching, guys. See you in the next video.